Hello everyone, welcome to AAT Tech Talk. My name is Narala Siddhartha. My roll number is 20951A6744. My branch is Computer Science Engineering with Data Science as specialization. Today my subject is soft skills and interpersonal communication. My topic is overcoming barriers of communication. So let's start. Tables of content. So I mainly divided the content into three parts. In the first part we are going to discuss about what is a communication, what is a barrier in a communication is. In the second part we are going to discuss about types of barriers. In the third part we are going to discuss about overcoming communication barriers. So let's start. First one, what is a barrier in a communication? The basic idea about communication and their barriers. So, what is a barrier? Communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place, person, or group to another. Every communication involves at least one sender, a message, and a recipient. This may sound simple, but communication is actually a very complex subject. The transmission of the message from sender to recipient can be affected by a huge range of things. These include our emotions, the cultural situation, the medium used to communicate, and even our location. The complexity is why good communication skills are considered so desired by employers around the world. Accurate, effective, and unambiguous communication is actually extremely hard. A communication, therefore, has three parts: the sender, the messenger, and the recipient. The sender encodes the message, usually in a mixture of words and non-verbal communication. It is transmitted in some way, for example, in speech or writing, and the recipient decodes it. Of course, there may be more than one recipient, and the complexity of communication means that each one may receive a slightly different message. Two people may read very different things into the choice of words and or body language. It is also possible that neither of them will have quite the same understanding as the sender. In face-to-face communication, the roles of the sender and recipient are not distinct. The two roles will pass back and forwards between two people talking. Both parties communicate with each other, even if in very subtle ways, such as through eye contact and general body language. In written communication, however, the sender and the recipient are more distinct. There are a wide range of ways in which we communicate, and more than one may be occurring at any given time. Spoken or verbal communication, which includes face to face, telephone, radio, or television, and other media. Non-verbal communication, covering body language, gesture, how we dress or act, what we stand, and even our scent. There are many subtle ways that we communicate with others. For example, the tone of voice can give clues to mood or emotional state, whilst hand signals or gestures can add to a spoken message. Written communication, which includes letters, emails, social media, books, magazines, the internet, and other media. Until recent times, a relatively small number of writers and publishers were very powerful when it came to communicating the written word. Today, we can all write and publish our own ideas online, which has led to an explosion of information and communication possibilities. A message or communication is sent by the sender through a communication channel to receive a receiver or to multiple receivers. The sender must encode the message, the information being conveyed into a form that is appropriate to the communication channel, and the receiver then decodes the message to understand its meaning and significance. Misunderstanding can occur at any stage of the communication process. Effective communication involves minimizing potential misunderstanding and overcoming any barriers to communicate at each stage in communication process. An effective communicator understands their audience, chooses the appropriate communication channel, hones their message to this channel and encodes the message to reduce misunderstanding by the receiver. They will seek out feedback from the receiver as to how the message is understood and attempt to correct any misunderstanding or confusion as soon as possible. Receivers can use techniques such as clarification and reflection as effective ways to ensure that the message sent has been understood correctly. Communication channels is the term given to the way in which we communicate. It is therefore the method used to transmit our message to a recipient or to receive a message from someone else. There are multiple communication channels available to us today. These include face-to-face conversations, telephone calls, text messages, email, the internet, radio, TV, written letters, brochures and reports, and so on. Choosing an appropriate communication channel is vital for effective communication. Each communication channel has different strengths and weaknesses. So let's discuss about the type of barriers. So, types of barriers. Most people would agree that communication between two individuals should be simple. It's important to remember that there are differences between talking and communicating. When we communicate, we are successful in getting our point across to the person we are talking to. When we talk, we tend to erect barriers that hinder our ability to communicate. There are five these types of barriers to effective communication, including attitudinal barriers, behavior barriers, cultural barriers, language barriers, and environment barriers. So, what are attitudinal barriers? A common cause of communication breakdown in a workspace or workplace situation is people holding different attitudes, values, and discrimination. An example of this is differing perceptions people have of power and status. Some people may think that they should treat people or to be treated differently based on what they perceive as their status or power within a workspace or in the community. If they think that managers and supervisors have power over staff, for example, that they can allocate duties, reward, promote, or dismiss staff, this may lead to barriers before the communication even takes place. However, what one person considers power and control might be considered leadership or mentoring by another person. Effective communication is necessary no matter what level or position you occupy. If you feel someone is trying to exert power or control over you, communicate this to them. Discrimination arises when people make judgments about individuals or groups without thinking clearly. Behaviors such as stereotyping, bias, and prejudice are forms of discrimination. When people discriminate, they make decisions without bothering to get all the necessary information about the people they are judging. So valuing people who are different allows us to on a broader range of insights, ideas, experiences, knowledge. Each person's uniqueness comes from personal characteristics such as race, gender, education, age, ability, lifestyle, experience. So what are behavior barriers? The behaviors like bias, generalizations, stereotyping can cause communication barriers. Having these attitudes and not confronting them is not just wrong, it's bad for individuals. In the workspace, such attitudes can cost the organization time and money. Stereotyping occurs when you assume we know something about a person because of the cultural or social background. So what are cultural barriers? So what are cultural barriers? Communication with the people of different cultures and backgrounds, meaning becoming aware of differences in values, beliefs, and attitudes that people hold. Empathy is important for overcoming barriers to communication based on culture. Empathy means sensing the feelings and attitudes of others as if we had experienced them personally. Tips to create empathy: respecting others' feelings and attitudes, using active listening skills, encouraging involvement of others by asking. So language barriers. Language barriers occur when people do not speak the same language or do not have the same level of ability in a language. Environmental barriers. Not all barriers to communication are caused by people. There are many environmental factors affecting the effective communication. Messages can be blocked by environment such as physical setting or the situation where communication cannot take place. Okay, overcoming communication barriers. In order to overcome, we have to eliminate differences in perceptions. We have to use a simple language. We have to reduce the elimination of noise levels, and the best and foremost practice is to take and learn active listening, and having a good emotional state, simple organizational structure, avoid information overload, and also give constructive feedback after listening the message they have sent to you, and proper media selection, that is which is selection of a proper channel in order to communicate, flexibility in meeting the targets. Thank you.